Sustain!
and nutrition.
Joe, talk about
How to lose weight without exercise.
Say what?
So lots of people think that you need to exercise to lose weight, but this isn't the case. There's a lot of people who are limited with their exercise, whether that be through injury, location, can't be asked, whatever it is. There's loads of different ways you can lose weight without exercising. Number one is mindfulness. So this is more awareness of your eating.
So first one will be to eat slowly. So try not to eat when you're on the run. If you can, if you do get the opportunity, then sit down and have a proper meal instead of running around and just snacking.
Yeah, this would also come to eating without distractions. So, you know, you think about when you're watching TV or in the cinema, something like that, it's really easy to just mindlessly eat and suddenly you've gone through, you know, £8.50's worth of pick and mix, or 100 grams.
Well, yeah, it was about 2 pieces.
So, make sure that you're focusing on what you're doing, you know, eat slowly, put your knife and fork down between bites. You don't need to just shovel your food as fast as possible. It'll help you keep you a lot fuller and therefore you won't overeat.
I would also advise eat your proteins first, then your vegetables, and then your carbohydrates, because you're going to be more likely to fill up on the proteins and the veggies before you get to the carbs, which are going to be slightly higher calories.
Which takes us nicely on to our second point. Eating a high protein diet is great for being able to lose weight without exercise because
it's got a thermogenic effect and it's very, very filling.
Yes, exactly. So what you'll find is when people eat a higher protein diet is they'll naturally eat fewer calories just because protein's so filling. Ultimately, it's harder for your body to break down, and it just means that your body's fuller for longer. Whereas you think about eating sugar and things like that, you don't have that same satiating effect, and people want to eat again and again and again.
Yeah, blood sugar control whilst you're dieting is key, and eating protein, a high protein diet will help this massively. So you won't have these cravings during the day.
Yeah, this is exactly the same as the next point, which is veg. So ultimately, you're looking for foods that keep you full without them being really high calorie, especially if you can't exercise because you can't burn off the extra. So if you eat veg, you're going to be a lot fuller off very few calories, and ultimately it's going to make it easier to stick to your diet.
Yeah, if you think of your daily calorie intake as being like a shopping budget, so you've only got so much to spend before you're in debt. So you need to be as frugal as you can with the things that you're going to buy. So eating things like high fiber veg are going to stretch that budget out further.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas if you spend your budget on something like a 2,000 calorie pizza, you've not got any more calories in the rest of your day. So ultimately you're going to have to kind of starve yourself and grit your teeth, which most people are going to struggle to do long term. Next, water. So one thing that we see a lot with our clients is they don't drink enough water. And often humans can confuse thirst for hunger. So when they think they're hungry, they're actually just thirsty. And as soon as you put more water in, it makes it much easier because people are eating less.
Yeah, you'll find you'll get more energy, your digestion will be better, you'll be more alert, just everything improves once you're hydrated.
Yeah, sleep is the next big one. So a lot of people are unable to control their sleep, but there are a lot of things you can do to improve the quality of your sleep. So if you can't sleep for longer than 6 hours, you need to make sure you're getting 6 good hours of sleep. And we'll go more into that later. But the problem is, if you don't have this, then ultimately it's much easier to go off plan because your decision-making capabilities are reduced.
Yeah, sleep quality is going to be key over quantity, as Joe said. So if you've only got limited amount of times that you can sleep, say 4 or 5 hours, then make them as good as possible. When you're tired, you're going to be craving carbohydrates, you're going to crave higher calories, and just simply for the fact that you're up for longer, so you'll be wanting more calories to feed that, to fuel your days.
Yeah, so the easiest ways to get around this are to shower before bed, to sleep in a darkened room, not use electronics, and then supplements as well. So there's loads of different things you can do if you haven't done any of them, and give them a go.
I'm trying to get Joe to try the shower before bed, but still not doing it.
Thanks, James. The next thing is to limit your intake of processed foods. So the problem with lots of modern foods and convenience foods is they're quite heavily processed. They're made in factories. And what this means is they're broken down from their original ingredients, then repackaged and reformed. So you think things like pizzas and crisps and things like that, things that aren't grown in the wild and they're made, they digest faster. So ultimately, they go into your body quicker. You have a rise in blood sugar. This is then dropped quickly afterwards, and then you're hungry again, so you eat more.
Yeah, I think people get a little bit confused with the processed food thing, thinking like, well, are canned tomatoes processed because they've been through a process? But as just said, look at foods that you can't find in nature, that if every shop shut down in the world now, you'd still be able to go out and get. They are partially digested, so think about the difference between baby food. So we make baby food because the child's digestive system's not fully functional, so they struggle to digest foods. So you break it down like a soup, so it's very easy to digest. Same thing happens with processed foods. So if you have 2,000 calories from a pizza, it takes very little energy or expenditure for your body to break that down, and it's going to absorb thousands of calories.
Yeah. Whereas if you had 2,000 calories of salmon and veg, it's going to be a much bigger volume of food. It's going to take a lot longer to digest, and so you'll be a lot fuller.
Yeah.
The last point is don't drink your calories. So it can be a bit of a confusing one here, and we don't just mean things like sugary drinks and alcohol, although that is included. We also mean things like smoothies. So often you get people, taking healthy, nutritious ingredients, fruit, bananas,
Nut butters,
avocados, things like
agave
that.
syrup.
Yeah, and blending them down into a drink. And the problem you've got there is it comes down to how fast you absorb it. And ultimately, a smoothie or a drink will make you feel full initially because it fills your stomach, it's a large volume, but it'll absorb quickly. So ultimately, you don't get that fullness and satiety long term.
Yeah, it just doesn't really add anything to it. If you're trying to drink a smoothie, then just do not fill up on things like nut butters and avocado and honey and syrup and chia seeds.
In one meal.
Yeah, because it's just going to be in and out your system, and it's almost kind of a waste of calories that you're eating.
Yeah, if you look on the side of kind of an innocent smoothie orange juice and it says, 7 oranges have gone into this, it's really easy for you to drink that, but you won't be able to eat it, or you'd really struggle to, and you'd be a lot fuller. So again, it's just you get a lot of calories in very quickly without that fullness, and ultimately you're going to then end up taking on too much.
So all these tips are going to help you create a calorie deficit, which is going to help with your weight loss, all without exercise.